What keeps you awake at night?
Sea levels are rising globally.
Fears fueled by horror stories.
Among the worst flu season in a decade, and it hasn't peaked yet.
We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous.
Another series of deadly terror attacks.
Because you know that thing your brain does in the middle of the night? This crazy thing where it takes a small problem and it just makes it enormous?
I went to a drag queen bingo night at a cat cafe.
I saw your Instagram story.
Me and Matt frequent many a cat cafes.
Of course.
Many a cat cafe. We go to cat cafes.
Cool.
And, it was so hilarious to me that, Matt and I have a black cat. I post about her constantly because I love her and I would die for her.
Yeah, why not?
I spoil her a bit. She uses my iPad to watch cat TV. It's excellent.
So fucking adorable.
Gotta put that shit to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I paid money for it. Somebody's gotta use it. So we go to this cat cafe and there's dead ass 15 cats in this room, and Matt and I have the pick of the litter, and and we can pick literally any cat in there, and the one that Matthew hones in on is the one kitten that looks like our cat.
I mean, he has a type.
He has a type, and he's like, look at Shadow. Shadow's so good. Shadow looks like Bean, but small. And I'm like, yes, because it's a black cat and a baby. And he's like, I love Shadow. This is Shadow. And just spent the entire night playing with Shadow. Shadow's beautiful.
So cute.
The cat cafe in Laguna Beach is wonderful. They are adopting. If you're nearby and you have an excellent home available for a cat, please give them a visit. Because it was very nice. And they've adopted many cats, 50
that's
cats.
Awesome.
So
wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love cats.
They're doing the Lord's work.
God, for real. So that's the best good news that we have to open this, because today we're talking about the wonderful film, the M. Night Shyamalan masterpiece that is The Happening.
Bum, bum, bum. It is.
God.
I knew it was low-hanging fruit when we picked it, but I don't think anyone could have prepared me for just the work of utter mediocrity that is The Happening.
It was so unbelievably lazy.
It was so lazy. That is the perfect word.
It was so lazy. I think I summarized the last movie, so you want to go ahead and you're...
Yeah, because I actually just finished it 30 minutes ago.
Oh, so actually you were the most excellent person.
I am the Happening expert.
I also love that you finished it, set up your shit, and we're like, all right, I'm ready to record.
I mean, there's no better position to be in, honestly.
Yeah, 100%.
And even then, even after coming out of it 30 minutes ago...
You haven't had enough time to process.
Right? I understand very little. I can gather the facts, but I comprehend almost nothing.
Yeah.
So
that's a mood.
Let's just give a general synopsis, because
yeah, there's no way. There's no way.
Just no way to go into the details because nothing really happens.
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly honest with everybody. The gist of this movie, you should watch it, by the way. It's terrible and you'll have a blast. But yeah. The gist of this movie is
it's plants.
Happens. It's plants. That's it. Spoiler alert. Oops. No, it's so... So something is happening that's making people kill themselves, a la Bird Box. And nobody really knows what it is. First they think it's terrorists, then they're like, oh, maybe it's a bio thing that the government was doing, and then all of a sudden people make the connection that it's plants, I guess?
No, so... It also, as an aside, when they quote-unquote figure out it's plants, it starts with one guy with a lazy eye that's like, it's plants! And everyone's like, okay,
up,
old man. And then suddenly... people on the news are like, it's plants.
Yeah, it's like there's no... Oh my god, we can definitely sink our claws into the writing. But yeah, so then they discover it's plants, and the whole movie centers around this married couple and their friend and their friend's daughter, and then various side characters attempting to get out of the zone of danger that is the plants. And that's it. That's the whole movie. And so it tries to do a lot of things, and it does them all very poorly.
Yeah.
in that you're following this married couple that I suppose you're supposed to care about.
Good. Oh my God, are they insufferable?
Played by Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel in her most vapid I've ever seen her. And like, you're supposed to care about their marriage, I guess, and there's like trouble there. There's trouble brewing in paradise, but like, it never matters at all. Like they do all this legwork to make you think that their marriage is falling apart, and then it just never pays off.
Also, so in the opening, it shows her like getting a phone call from this dude repeatedly, and you're like, oh shit, she must be sleeping with him. And then like halfway into the film, she confesses her sin, which was getting dessert with a dude.
She got tiramisu. Everyone knows that's the most sensuous of desserts.
Yeah, and you just like, I don't know, Matt was like, I don't mean to split hairs here, but if we were like worried about dying and you shared with me that you shared tiramisu with a guy, that would be literally the least of my fucking concerns.
Right?
Like,
and it comes off as this like completely nonsensical moment where she's like, I just need to tell you, I got dessert with this guy from work. And he's just like, so hurt.
He's like, I can't, like Matt said, even if you told me at that moment that you cheated on me, like actually cheated on me, I'd be like, that's great. If we live through this, we'll talk about this. But right now, I'm just trying to be alive.
Right? And like, I don't know, like we could psychoanalyze this, like how selfish that would be in that moment to suddenly drop this weight on someone else. Like, that's not about doing something nice for your partner.
Yeah.
It's about your guilty conscience. Like, keep that shit to yourself.
God. Especially, like, you live through it and discuss the tiramisu thing, but Jesus.
It's cake, though. Like, I think the thing that we really need to just jump on is that it's cake. She shared a cake with a guy.
Yeah, and that story is just so representative of their entire chemistry, because that's it. That's it. Yeah.
That's it. They've got tension, and it doesn't come from anything that makes sense, which is really the biggest problem with this movie. I think that the biggest sin that The Happening commits is just not knowing the rules of its own script.
Yeah.
Does that make, like...
No. I completely agree, because like Matt was so confused. Like, I'm saying, this is the first movie I think I've watched with Matt, because usually when I like pitch the idea, do you want to see a movie that I know is bad? And he goes, no, because
Not
like
really.
I get it. So this time I loved his commentary. He would constantly be asking these questions, because he like, none of this tracks. Like at the beginning,
none of it makes sense.
In the beginning, there's okay, so it opens with two women on a bench, like, reading, and then literally everyone in, like, a Central Park or whatever stops moving except for one single woman, and they all start killing themselves. And
why that one woman?
Yeah, why that one woman? Like, why one...
Is she immune, you ask? No, we never get to find out. Like, it just never comes up. Why and then one single person is
one
cool.
single person is immune. Then there's, like, another scene where you have, like, people jumping off of, like, a concrete building en masse, like, construction workers. So, again, and I'm spoiling the ending of it being plants, because this is so crucial. Like, why at the top of an industrial building is the chemicals released by plants more effective than on the ground near the plants?
Right, so I think this is where we're just going to be going for a while, is discussing the rules of the big bad. So the thing that is killing people or making people kill themselves is a neurotoxin released by plants that is explained later to be, apparently, the plant's defense mechanism against a threat, i.e. humans, I guess. So what we're given on the screen is that if there is a collection of humans bigger than a certain size, and it gets more and more sensitive as time goes on, then the wind blows, I guess, and releases these neurotoxins into the air, which makes people want to kill themselves because it, like, fucks with your neurotransmitters, I guess.
Literally every time that I watch a movie and people who don't understand science describe the brain as, quote, a series of electrochemical signals, I will walk into traffic. I will be the people in this. I'm so over it because it's the most lazy writing in the world to describe neuroscience. Like,
Right, no neuroscientist would ever describe the brain that way.
no, they're not going to be like, a series of electrochemical impulses,
The internet
blah,
is
blah,
a series
blah.
of tubes.
Pretty much. Yeah. So like that, and like that goes into like how much of this is just bad science, because the argument again later is this neurochemical neurotoxin
Yeah.
inhibits neurotransmitters that regulate the area of the brain dedicated to self-preservation, which, to my knowledge, doesn't exist. Like, there's no part of the brain that's like, I'm going to consciously expend energy to make sure that this person wants to be alive.
Right.
Also, if you find that area of the brain, please let me know. Mine is faulty. Like, first of all,
That the joke you wrote?
no.
Oh god. Okay.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, every depressed person on the face of the planet is like, damn. All right,
I have
so
one of them.
yeah. And so like, that's the argument, is it like fucks with that area of the brain, the part of the area of the brain that doesn't fucking exist. And then also, if it did, like, that biologically makes the least amount of sense for the
Right.
brain to be oriented. Like your brain wants an area so that if it stops working, you're like,
You just
yeah,
die.
you know what? I'm gonna kill myself actually right now.
Well, and that's the funny thing, is it doesn't actually say that it turns off those neurotransmitters.
No,
they say that it reverses them.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
That's not
They
possible.
just go backwards.
Just go backwards. Oh my god. Oh god. Just
So fucking stupid.
go into reverse, look over their shoulder as they back up.
Beep, beep, beep.
So like, that was fucking lazy. I would like
Awful.
to discuss how Mark Wahlberg is a
Ugh.
science teacher at a high school.
He's so creepy.
And there's this one scene where, like, obviously they're like concluding more and more that whatever's in the air is from the plants or whatever, and it's like a group of people in a field. Which, let me unpack this a bit. So they take a large group of, say, 30 people, split it in half. Half of the group goes forward, half of the group is a little behind. The first group is apparently sufficiently large for the plants to release this toxin, but the second, equally sized group does not encourage the plants to release the neurotoxin. And
They
so,
claim later that group is slightly smaller.
oh my fucking, by like one or two people, like the
Right.
plants are like, whoa, 15? Yeah, we gotta kill those motherfuckers. Wait, is that
So
13?
here? Oh.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
whatever. That's my quota. Yeah,
Yeah.
What is this? Okay, so on that note, so that scene establishes the sort of like size limit rule. So now
Yeah.
we know that the thing, whatever it is, the neurotoxin, the plants, whatever, are only attacking people of a certain group, right? Like a certain group number.
Yeah.
And also, you have to be near plants, right?
Yep.
Right. Glad we're on the same page here.
Yep.
So I can understand why the city would be like the first one attacked. I can get on board with that. How
Yep.
it's like spreading out from cities into more rural areas.
Yep.
Cool. We're on the same page. Neat. And then we think about, wait a minute. Why did the plants attack a moving vehicle
With 4 people.
with 4 fucking people in it? What the shit?
Also, that scene in particular, it's like I said, it follows Mark Wahlberg and his wife Zoe Deschanel, and then the daughter of one of his friends. So his friend is in this car with like 4 other people because he's trying to find his wife that is in Cambridge or something, Princeton.
Princeton, yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about this scene so much because so one of the girl, like, okay, so they are driving through Princeton and there's like dead bodies in the tree, which as an aside, the deaths in this movie are so fucking gratuitous and like all over the place.
Laughable.
It's maddening. And so for whatever reason, even though they're like it's completely separate scenes, in the Mark Wahlberg scene, Lazy Eye guy, which is the guy that's driving them, is like, it's the plants. And then for whatever reason, this car that had no connection with Lazy Eye guy, he's like, cover up the vents as if he believes it's like airborne with like literally no backing for believing it's like really airborne.
I think that what the movie accidentally did is assume that the characters had seen the same news reports that are like scattered throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Which like is impossible because they've been on the road this whole time.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But whatever,
no one's
right?
paying attention, right?
And so he's like, cover up all the vents, cover up all the vents. And then they're like covering it up, and the girl in the back is having a panic attack. And now I've had many panic attacks in my life. But the least calming thing in the he asks her to do math problems to calm down. He turns around while she's freaking out and goes, breathe, breathe, breathe. Okay, if I give you a penny a day, and then I give you 2 pennies tomorrow, and then 4 pennies after that, and I just keep doubling and doubling and doubling. How much money are you going to have by the end of the month? And she's crying, and she goes, $10. And he goes, no, much higher than that. And she goes,
again.
And the highest number she can think of is $20. And then
but my favorite part of this scene is the next thing she says, which is $30, but she says it with such certainty.
Yeah.
Goes, no, I got it. It's $30.
And then she says it with certainty, even though he said much, much higher. And she went, got it, $30. And
she says it like she did the mental math. She's like, I got it. It's $30.
And so then he like looks up, and apparently there's like a little cut in the roof of this Jeep.
A dime-sized hole in the top of the car
and
he does nothing to cover.
And then he says, do you want to hear another one? And that's when the driver like runs full force into a tree and then Also, Matt says, what I'm confused about is if you have the driver running into the tree, and at the angle in which you can see it, the car bows around the tree. The person who would get hurt worse is the person in the passenger seat, because he's like, Matt's really fucking going in on this.
Yeah.
As it bows around, the driver flies through the window, but the math guy doesn't, which doesn't make sense physically.
He was wearing his seatbelt, Olivia.
Whatever. And then he gets out of the car and then kills himself. Dumb scene.
Right.
But literally,
so stupid.
Why? Like,
right, what are the fucking rules? Like, is the rule that you kill yourself as fast as possible? Like, is that the thing? Because he, like, gets out of the car and then sits on the ground for a while and stares at the sky and then slits his wrist with a piece of glass on the floor. Like, for some of them, there's this sense of urgency about it. Like, it has to be done right now. Yeah. And for others, it takes fucking forever. And that's, like, what...
So inconsistent, right?
Like,
and so that scene where like the Mark Wahlberg is trying to fucking high school sciences is he's trying to science teach his way out of this. He literally monologues out loud the scientific method.
It's amazing.
He's like, okay, let's see, find an hypothesis. It could be this. Identify the variables: plants, people, groups. Okay, size of groups. Okay, perform an experiment. He literally narrates out loud what he and the group is just looking at him like he's insane because he appears to be.
No, I have to like break this down. Again, you have to watch this movie. It is too unreal.
Yeah.
But this scene is so amazing because what has precipitated this moment is the groups have split off, and then the slightly larger one is now picking themselves off one by one with a soldier's gun.
Again,
so,
slightly larger.
Like 2 people? So Mark Wahlberg is then faced with this group of terrified people who are asking him for some reason to do something about the people in the other group murdering themselves. So his response is to be like, can everybody just give me a goddamn minute? And then he shuts his eyes and starts rattling off the scientific method while gunshots are sounding behind him, which for some reason is just the pinnacle of comedy.
I really wish I counted the gunshots.
Fucking incredible.
Oh my god, and Zoe Deschanel is like, we need to go save them. I'm like, bitch, I know for a fact you've been watching these news stories at this point.
Right?
Like, why?
You know how this works, that you can't save them. She's like, we're not gonna stand idly by like those assholes on the news. We're not assholes. Which brings me to my next favorite part of this movie.
Oh, man.
The dialogue.
It's painful.
Oh my god.
God.
It's outrageous. Like, I know that M. Night Shyamalan can actually write dialogue.
Are you sure?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think he maybe sold his soul to, like, write a good movie.
Because the only two movies I can think of are the one where he has the one where the guy touches people and, like, reads their thoughts, and then Sixth Sense. And that is fucking it. That is it.
So The Sixth Sense is, like, a good movie.
Yeah.
And, like, it doesn't make any sense that this same man who wrote The Sixth Sense, which is widely regarded as a good movie, suddenly lost the ability to write human speech?
You know what other movies he's done? He's done that. Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
He did a movie with Will Smith, which at that point he had Lady in the Water. His track record of movies has been so bad that when the Will Smith movie came out, they did not put his name on posters because they thought it would discourage people from going. And you know what? It was still bad. So he yeah,
he doesn't have an awesome reputation these days. But like, it's bizarre. Because he wrote a good movie. He did it. I know he did it. I watched it. Unless someone edited it to hell. But, like, damn. He cannot write a human person speaking to another human person to save his life. It's insane. Some of the things that are said are just, like... There's a scene at the very beginning when it's first revealing, like, something has happened in New York, oh no. Mm-hmm. And so Mark Wahlberg is teaching his students and says some weird things.
Oh my god. It's
students.
God. He says to the, like, there's an attractive student, and he's obviously not caring about the lecture, which also, this is the same lecture where he opens it with saying, the bees are going extinct. Does anybody want to hypothesize why that is?
Yeah,
and asks a
why.
group of high schoolers to hypothesize something that they still haven't solved. Like, they're just, like, spitballing, and he's like, good, this is a good discussion. And a hot student is, like, not paying attention, and he looks at the student in the face and goes, you know what? Your face is perfect.
Yeah,
you know why you should worry about that? Because your face changes little millimeters by millimeters every year. Maybe that perfect face is not going to look so perfect in a few years. And I'm like,
it's so weird. Like, what? That is his attempt to get this student to care about his lecture, and for some reason,
does
it works.
Work. Yeah.
Woo. But then later, like, so the teachers are taken out of their classrooms and sort of held in seminar to find out what is happening. And I guess the principal? I don't know. Some spokesperson who's the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
Poor guy. He, like, his exact words, I wrote them down, are... 1 second, shit. I should have had this ready. Oh yeah. There seems to be an event happening. And then everybody gasps? What?
Me. Also,
there seems to be an event.
And that scene, too, he says there seems to be an event happening. A few hours ago, X occurred, and the government is saying it's terrorists. And I look at Matt, and I said, damn, this has to be the fastest moving government I have ever fucking seen.
Right?
There is no way that a major incident like that occurs and the government immediately gives the announcement it's terrorists.
No, never.
And that's like another thing. I was going to touch on the dialogue and I guess the writing as well. All of the news stories were so fucking contrived. Yes. And like, they'd be like, moving along, they're on their little journey. And then a news story is like, news from the government says that the chemical is a natural chemical. And I'm like, nobody fucking cares whether it's natural or not. People are literally killing themselves in public. Or like, they just like fucking announce, they're like, yes, it's terrorists. And I'm like, when when in a U.S. crisis would the news so recklessly report? No, never. Never.
So I think that this movie would be at least 10% better if all of the news stories were just scrapped completely. Because
it was
this
so forced.
Was fucking insulting to my ability to keep track of what was going on. There's a scene which is just... This is one of the best examples of it, but it happens like 5 or 6 times, where someone wheels in a TV on a cart and then like summarizes what the news just said, and then it shows the TV saying the exact same thing. His exact words, he comes in, he says, "It's not terrorists anymore. They think it's the plants." And like, we know! We've already found this out! We know already! Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. It happens like 6 times where like someone forces down your throat the plot point that you should be figuring out on your own.
Yeah.
It's just insulting.
It's so annoying. And like... So progressing, and this is pretty much the whole movie is just this, just like, oh, they're killing themselves? Wait, why? Oh, hold on, Mark Wahlberg is high school teachering it. All right. Oh, shit, more people are killing themselves? Why? Oh, the TV told us. Excellent. Right? And so now we skip all the way to the climactic point, which is generous to call it the climax of the film.
It's nothing. It is nothing. Sorry,
right?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
it's nothing.
It's nothing. So they appear randomly at this woman's house, and she literally says, "I guess the polite thing to do would be to invite you for dinner." And then starts walking, and Mark Wahlberg is reasonably confused.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I'm not going to ask you twice." And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Also, at that point,
you to do this.
yeah, at that point, no, I'm actually out. I'm out.
Bye. I'll find the next weird lady.
Right?
Jesus.
And so they like have a weird dinner, and then they wake up or something, and she's like, "You're trying to steal my things," and he's like,
yeah, she goes from 0 to like 100 in Crazy Land, and it doesn't make any sense.
And the award for best delivery of a man definitely robbing someone and trying to make it sound like you're not robbing them goes to fucking Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, poor man.
Because she's like, "You're trying to steal my things," and he goes, "Ma'am, no, we're not." And she's like, "Yes, you are. I know you are. Get out of my house." And he's like, "Ma'am, please, let's just have a conversation."
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're trying to make it sound like you're not robbing her, you are doing a piss poor job, my friend.
All of his lines are like that, though, where he says something and there's just too many vowels in the way he says it.
Ma'am. No, we're not. And then she goes outside, and this fucking doesn't make sense. She goes outside completely alone.
Right.
And then starts doing the thing where she's like walking backwards and talking silly, and then clearly starts trying to kill herself and shit, right? Closes up all the doors, and again, this is exactly what you're talking about, the agency of, like, killing yourself. Like, throughout most of this film, again, it's like, sometimes people just jump off shit, sometimes they just cut their wrists for some reason, and then this one, she, like, walks up to the house and starts slamming her head against the house.
She takes a full lap around the house.
Yeah, and just
bizarre.
like slams her head around every area of that fucking house and like slams her head through the windows.
Yeah.
Huh?
Why? Yeah, fucking why? Why?
Yeah, and like it's supposed to be like, "Oh no, the windows are open and Mark Wahlberg's inside where the windows are open," and you're like, "Oh no, Mark Wahlberg."
Yeah. Oh no, I care about you, I guess.
So this next, oh my god, and so he's somehow like near a basement area where there's like a tube in the wall, and through the tube he's able to communicate with Zooey Deschanel, and she's like in a different like shack.
Which is super spooky because instead of putting like a filter over her voice and his voice respectively, it sounds like she's in the room with him.
Yeah.
It fucks with your, like, understanding of space.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
Yeah, and you're like, huh? And so, like, they have some weird emotional moment where, like, Mark Wahlberg unpacks that he still wears the mood ring that they bought at, like, a date or
on
something.
their first date.
Yeah, he, like, still wears it actively, which, like, that shit will turn your finger green, but whatever. And and then he's like, I'm gonna go out there and be with you. I'm gonna be with you. And she goes, no! And he, like, fucking walks outside and stands in the plants and then doesn't get killed. And then she walks outside again with this child.
This drove me crazy. All this time, they've been taking care of this dead man's child, and she's like, no, I want to be with my husband, and she drags this child out to her death. What?
And they just stand there, and they're, like, safe, and then it jump cuts to, like, 3 years in the future, where they're...
Oh my god, this is so good, because it fades out, right? And then there's, like, a Mark Wahlberg voiceover where he goes, it must have ended a minute before we went outside. That's it. That's all we get.
Which is so fucking convenient.
This is so funny. So many parts of this movie reminded me of The Room.
Oh my god. And you know what's wild is you think, like, it gives, like, the ending of, like, they're together and she's pregnant, yay. And you're like, wow, okay, well, the movie could have ended 2 times now, but whatever. And then it shows, like, another news footage where it's some dude yelling about the environment, which my rant about this is about environment, but we'll get to that. And he's like, you see, the plants, it's their defense mechanism because they're trying to send a warning sign. I think the plants are sending a warning because, holy shit, this was the laziest writing in the entire fucking film. Because
this guy is so Alex Jonesy, and I don't think he meant to be.
No,
like,
no.
He was supposed to be an expert, and he comes off as just like a weird, like, enthusiast, I guess? Like a conspiracy theorist?
Yeah, and then also the newscaster interviewing him is just asking any loose-ended question that the audience member could ever ask, like, why did this only affect the Northeast? And he has an exact answer, and I'm like, wow, did you identify plot holes? And, like, instead of just, like, leaving it up to the viewer, I literally answering it in front of my face, because that's what it feels like you're doing.
Yep.
The guy is like, well, I guess, we'll never know for sure, because apparently he doesn't believe the Alex Jones type, which is not too far-fetched, and says something to the effect of, like, it'll have to happen a second time for us to know for sure. Something like that, right?
Yeah,
and
we would believe you if only it had happened somewhere else.
You're like, that's not how science works, but sure. And then it literally jump cuts to Paris or somewhere in France. And like the exact same thing happens where it's like 2 French dudes walking and then everybody stops moving except for one guy, which goes back to my question. What's wrong? Why is this one guy not killing himself?
Oh, well, I'll answer that, Olivia. It's because the plants understand a good moment of dramatic irony.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I was really confused by that. So, yeah.
And that's solved.
And I don't, and so then I don't really understand what the purpose of that scene is, though, because,
I don't know, confirmation of the theory.
I guess.
So that there's absolutely no loose ends.
Yeah, God forbid you have loose ends in a film. So, I feel like we've talked about the major plot points. I would like to... my least favorite thing about this film... Oh, wait,
Please.
Do we have a positive things?
Oh, let's do that first, because I feel like it'll take less time.
Okay.
All right, so...
And, I know we usually say, the directing was good, but the directing was objectively bad. The cinematography was deplorable.
Holy shit, yes.
There was this one scene in New York or Pennsylvania or something where, a cop shoots himself in the head, and then a guy in a taxi comes out and, grabs the gun, and then he drops the gun, and another woman grabs... it's one of those, and it's supposed to be a continuous shot, which are generally difficult to film, and it's very clear that, during one of the camera movements, the camera shakes a little bit, and they just, never reshoot it.
Yes, oh my god, and, Yeah, the director of photography is just, it should go to jail. That's actually one of the things that I was going to talk about. But okay, one genuinely good thing. See, the problem is that it's a horror movie and it does every single horror thing wrong.
Yeah.
So I can't even say that they followed, like, the general trajectory of a horror movie. And I can't even say that the fact that they didn't do that is a good thing. I think it's just so mediocre, right? Like, the best thing I can say about it is that it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yep.
And I
So
think
that's something.
as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Because
just not great.
There wasn't a single... And, like, okay, so this is another problem I have. Have you ever watched Your Movie Sucks?
No.
Okay, so Adam from Your Movie Sucks, he has a YouTube channel, and he does a 9-part M. Night Shyamalan master review. And it is to date, one of my favorite series on YouTube of all time. I've seen it like 6 times.
Rad. I love that.
And he gets so fucking pissed when he gets to the happening, because he gives praise to The Shining and whatever the other one is.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then there's this middle one, which isn't super great, and I forget the order of M. Night Shyamalan, and by the time he gets to the happening, he's just so fucking pissed, and does a montage of it, like, a nuke, and, like, it being awful, and the worst cuts from, like, Mark Wahlberg going, no!
So bad!
And he's like, I remember when this came out, people straight up told me not to see it, and when I asked why, they said, it's plants. It's plants. Like... And
Which
then
is so funny because they've done that in horror before.
yeah,
Like, it's not... That's not an unused idea. It's been done pretty well before.
yeah.
And this is just so bad. And,
Yeah, there's nothing good about this film. I actually wholeheartedly recommend, after you, like, listen to this, you watch Your Movie Sucks series on M. Night Shyamalan. It is
absolutely will.
so fucking funny. He has a personal vendetta against M. Night Shyamalan in particular.
For good reason.
God.
Like, this
it's
is so bad.
so bad. So I have nothing positive to say.
That's
like,
fine.
nothing truly. There was no, like... None of the, and like that was my point, is like when I finally saw like coherently all of the films, like everything post Shining, all of the dialogue is like this. It's just very like,
You mean post Sixth Sense?
sorry, post Sixth Sense, very contrived. And
Yeah, it's like he felt like he had to keep writing movies.
yeah, and he's given interviews where he like formally rejects that his movies are bad.
Oh, buddy.
He's like, I feel like I'd have to sell out to make the movie that people want me to make, and like I just don't want to do that.
Cool, keep writing trash, pal.
And so like, but like, you know, it's one of those things where I've seen Zooey Deschanel act really well. I've seen Mark Wahlberg act really well, and like,
That was so confusing, yeah.
and I think it's like the lines themselves are just so weird. Like,
Yes.
it'd be hard to act, like the best actor in the world would struggle with this, because
Yes.
like the math teacher whose daughter they adopt, I suppose, like in the beginning is like, my wife's really worried, but I told her that, you know,
threw
there's
some
nothing to be
statistics
worried
at her.
about, you know. People feel reassured when they hear statistics. And I'm like, first of all, nobody in their right fucking mind would say that during a plausible terrorist attack.
Right?
But also, how do you deliver that line? Not weird.
Yeah, no, it's all like very stilted and bizarre.
Yeah.
And it doesn't none of it
was
makes
good.
sense.
None of it makes sense. None of it is good. So I have nothing positive, genuinely. So
Your least favorite thing then?
So
Can you pick one, Olivia?
I can.
Good.
If there's anything that I dislike more in the world about movies, it's ham-handed delivery of social commentary.
God, yes.
And this was such a direct jab at, like, global warming. Like, it was so painfully apparent. And, like, in the beginning, he's talking about the bee crisis, and one of the kids answers global warming, and it's the only answer that the children give that he, like, validates.
Right,
Or,
yeah.
like, they, like, randomly bring up the environment, and then they're like, woo, environment. But the one that really fucking pissed me off was, like, there's this one scene where they do a cut of, like, a house, and behind the house is a power plant that could be no more than, say, 6 miles from that house.
It's very close.
Which literally Never happens, first of
Nope.
all. Never happens. Second of all, and Matt made this comment because, like, he goes, it's very interesting to me that they show the nuclear power plant because all that steam that's coming off is just steam. It probably would have been more effective if they did a coal plant because coal plants actively release pollution into the air.
Yup.
So it's like, fine. In fact, nuclear power is the cleanest energy source on the face of the planet.
Yes,
But
it
whatever.
Who's counting?
But so, like, that's what really bothered me, is this whole thing was very clearly like, I'm gonna write something about the environment and make a point that the trees are trying to kill us because they're mad. But then, like, did it in a way that just made me so angry.
I mean, they
Because-
just hand it to you at the end. He, like, yells about it. The news correspondent just yells the whole moral of the movie at the
Yeah.
screen.
It literally read like, did you ever read Ayn Rand? No?
God, don't. I could yell.
Well, I mean, like, when I read The Fountainhead, I think I read The Fountainhead. Yeah, I read The Fountainhead, and, like, Ayn Rand as a person fucking blows, but, like, that book was enjoyable up until the point where the main character literally explains the entire plot of the book, and you're like, well, that
Right.
undoes my enjoyment of this.
Now
And,
I know
like,
what the book is about.
Thank
Thanks.
God I read 600 pages of book.
Ugh.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I mean, it's like the same thing of like, I just watched your garbage film and you have the audacity to recap it all for me. Fuck off. Yeah, and it was really ham-handed, and like we said, like when we've explained the plot and like the inconsistency and like the murdering, like I don't really understand how this was even effective. Like, how do plants across the entire globe communicate that they're gonna localize the release of these neurotoxins in a specific regional area? Like,
Oh yeah, they try to convince the audience that plants can talk to each other like people can talk to
which
each
is
other.
not.
Nope, that's
No.
not right at all.
And like, they also show the map of where it's occurring, and it's literally, it is just the northeastern US and literally ceases at the border between the US and Canada. Like, it does not cross over the border into Canada.
Yeah, plants are real picky about border crossing.
They actually don't go beyond state lines. So that's fucking bizarre. And then, like, coordinatedly, plants on the other side of the planet in Paris are like, now's our time to shine, buddy.
Actually,
like,
we want to go at this. Thanks. Yeah.
and like, don't even like get me started on like just like chemically, if pheromone or neurotoxin was being released into the air, period, that would be like wide sweeping across massive areas of land. So like that scene
yeah.
where it's a small field and they're like, whoa, they're only like 100 feet ahead of us and they're dying. It's like, they would absolutely experience those pheromones because it'd have to be so highly concentrated to blow that extensively. And also, I don't know, big cities don't have a fuckload of plants. Sorry to be critical.
Yeah, they try to, like, play that off as, like, well, it starts in the parks. And it's like, cool, but what about fucking everybody in the city block that is New York City? Like,
You know that
no.
one little weed that's growing in between the crevices of the sidewalk?
God damn it. Yeah, you're right. There it is.
He's releasing the toxin.
He's talking to the other plants in Central Park. He's like, he's part of the militia of plants.
Part of
God,
the
this movie
militia of
sucks.
plants!
This movie sucks so much.
So what is your least favorite?
I am between two things.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with one because I feel like it is my least, like, it's the lesser of two evils. So,
Okay.
when I first opened this movie on Amazon.com, I read a couple of reviews, which I probably shouldn't have, but the first one that I did, it said that Zooey Deschanel appeared to not understand the kind of movie she was in, and it seemed that she was under the impression that she was acting for a romantic comedy and not a horror. Now, I'm not unfamiliar with the concept of people being mean to women on the internet, so I kind of took that with a grain of salt. I was just shocked by the accuracy of that review. In the first 10 seconds that she's on screen, it seems like she's a cartoon character. It is baffling to me how she could have ever thought. Like, you made an accurate statement when you said that the writing was so bad that any actor, the best actor, would struggle to make it coherent. Yeah. She went so far left of center, I couldn't even see where she was coming from. It was bizarre.
So bizarre. Like,
straight up bizarre.
She was receiving that phone call from Joey, the man she's like, I don't know how to tiramisu with. And she like looks at her phone and throws it on the table and then leans back from it and then like comically reaches out her hand to like pick it up multiple times. Right. And then her husband, Mark Wahlberg, comes in and she's like, oh, hi, people are dying. And you're like,
yeah, it's like this just completely out of place moment where she like, her Zooey Deschanel and her giant eyeballs, like, going back and forth, looking at the phone and, looking away and, I'm back at the phone and, it's such a funny moment, except not because everybody's fucking dying. What is this moment? Yeah. And it's like that throughout the entire thing, where her acting is just so weirdly dissonant with everybody else's, and mind you, nobody is good. Like, no one, the best actor, God forbid, is John fucking Leguizamo, which blew my mind. And
Who's John Leguizamo?
The guy that plays the father.
Oh, the math teacher. Yeah, he was pretty good considering his lines were fucking trash.
Yeah, which is shocking to me because he's like, I don't know, when you think of good actors, you don't think of John Leguizamo. Anyway. Yeah. Sorry, John. It's just, she was so at odds with even the bad acting that was Mark Wahlberg. And like, I don't know, it was so confusing to watch. And every time she spoke, it felt like she was trying to, like, Disney sitcom her way through this movie. I didn't understand it. And like, every time she spoke, I was just angry. Yeah. So there's that. But I think the thing that tops it is just, this movie is incomprehensible. Like, there's, tonally speaking, there is no thread. I don't know what M. Night was thinking. When he, like, did he just get drunk, write part of it, and then, like, wait a couple days, and then get high and write another part of it, and then wait a couple days, and, like, have a fight with his ex, and then write another part of it? Like, there are so many different tones in this movie. It's just staggering. It's whiplash-inducing how many things happen that just don't track.
It read like a college film major's second film.
Oh my god, yes! That is exactly what it was like. There were so many times when I was like,
I've acted in this before.
I'm sure I've seen this movie before, yes. Like, I saw someone at UC fucking Irvine make this film. Like, there were moments when Zooey Deschanel was acting and I saw myself in her, which was bizarre. No, it was just, some of the cuts didn't make any sense. The director of photography, again, needs to be in jail because, like, the camera work was just nonsensical at best. Some of the camera angles were weird, but then, like, one single scene, they used a shaky cam. Why? I don't know. For fun. Whatever. And then there's, like, another scene, only one, that's in slow motion. Why?
Yeah.
What is happening?
You're so mad.
It's nonsensical.
I think it's because when you did drama, you did several student films, and this just resonates way too much for you.
It feels like watching everything I was ever in.
You're like, is this my film reel?
Hey!
No, I mean, like...
No, it's true. It's absolutely... I was in, I'll tell this story probably on the podcast later. Olivia and I, we went to middle school together, and then we were, like, out of touch for a while because, like, moving and stuff, and then we, like, became friends again in college. And one of the first stories I ever told her was about the first short film I ever did. And I'm gonna leave it at that because it is, oh man, it is the best.
Oh, we'll have to talk about it. It's so supremely good. I cried when she told me this. Oh,
if people want to hear about it.
But they definitely want to hear about it.
Oh man, and this was very much that. It was like the acting and the writing and the photography, it just screamed student film. And it was everything that happened. Like, there's a scene that we didn't even mention where 2 children, actual children, die. They're shot.
Yeah.
And we just didn't talk about it because, like, huh?
It's not relevant.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
means
there's like
nothing.
these 2 random like kids
Some
that like
rando-ass
tag along
children.
in their group, and then for some reason M. Night's like, God, I wish these 2 weren't here so they could have a romantic scene in the future. And so like they try to like enter someone's house, and what is it? Mark Wahlberg is like, can you let us in, please? And the
Yeah.
kids are like, I'm gonna fucking shake the walls of this house. And he's like, hey, can you stop? And these 2 kids are like, no! And then a fucking gun peeks out and shoots the first kid in the chest and
They
the
couldn't be
second
more
one in
than
the head.
12. They're babies. And
Yeah.
it's like just this gratuitous scene of murder.
Yeah.
And they just leave. They just, like, it happens, and then the guy's like, all right, you gonna leave? And Mark Wahlberg's like, oh, God. Yeah, all right. And they just fucking leave.
And like, also, Matt laughed when the first kid died because the gun wounds are just not correct.
So bad. Yeah, if you get shot by a shotgun at point blank range, it's not gonna have a fucking spread, genius.
It was like 6 individual localized
Yes.
puncture wounds. Like
yeah, they're all like the same size.
I don't think M. Night has ever seen a gun been shot. He was like, just make this look like a gunshot. And they're like, what kind of gun is it?
Just a gun. You know, like a gun.
Stop.
You know, you've heard of a gun, right?
Also, if you're shot in the head with a shotgun point blank, your
Your head
entire
would be gone.
fucking head would explode.
Your
so
head
fuck
would no
off.
longer. Your head would be not a thing anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
He has like a little chunk out of his head, and it's like, nah, bruh. You'd be the headless
gone.
goddamn horseman now. Sorry.
Oh my god. And oh my god.
Jesus.
Can we talk about another one of my favorite scenes is
Yes.
like he's watching these 2 groups travel and one group gets a little closer to the other group and he goes, "Oh no, 2 groups are joining." And they like get literally just a little too close and then they all stop and start killing themselves.
Yep.
And one guy just like turns on a lawnmower and lays down flat to die.
Industrial lawnmower, yeah.
And Matt's like, it should be sufficient, like, as a person who's watching it and doesn't want to see the violence, like, okay, well, he's gonna kill himself and walk away, but Mark Wahlberg, to, like, prove his scientific theory, has to watch, and you're like...
Yeah, he's just gotta take a quick peek, you know? Morbid curiosity.
Just got a hypothesis, define the variables.
Mark Wahlberg has done good things. Why
Yeah.
did he do this?
I have to believe, like, so much of acting is good directing, and if M. Night Shyamalan doesn't see, like, because, let's think, Sixth Sense was, Bruce Willis, who's fucking incredible actor.
Super good actor,
right?
yeah.
So maybe if the bad directing was a thing, like, wouldn't have really been observed. What is it? Joel Osment? What's his last?
Billy Joel Osment.
Yeah, he was an incredible child actor.
Super
like,
good.
I feel like maybe the cast was just so powerful that it was able to override bad directing or an okay script.
That's actually such a good point because I can't
You know?
tell you how many times I was like doing a read of a script and I got advice from a director that made me go, "Are you sure?" Like, sometimes you just don't have a choice.
Right? Like, and so, like, you know, where you can fucking tell Bruce Willis how to act? No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that M. Night Shyamalan, like, went to Zooey Deschanel and said, "Hey, you can do whatever you want, but you literally have to hold your eyes as wide as you can at all times. I will kill you if you don't." And she was like, "Shit, dude, okay." And that's what happened.
Before... I want to pause and find out the name of the first movie that I've been, like, citing, like, a gajillion times.
Sure.
So let's... Okay, so another one of the movies that he did was Signs. Have you seen Signs?
No, I
So it's about aliens. It was during the Alien era. and the climax of the film is like the aliens are killing people. So like the daughter is like set up that she doesn't drink water that has been out for quote unquote a bit. So this entire fucking house is like covered with glasses of water. And so at some point the aliens knock over some water glasses by accident and then like melt.
Okay.
Now, question. There is water in the air, yes?
Sure, yeah.
So you'd think that would probably do something?
I love that so many of M. Night Shyamalan's movies just crumble under the barest scientific knowledge.
There's the other one that you just mentioned, which was the one with the multiple personality disorders, which is literally not how that works.
Yeah, also, like, I'm pretty sure multiple personality disorder is not a diagnosis anymore.
No.
Like,
No.
That's pretty long gone.
Yeah, it's been, you know, if you made this in, like, maybe 96, it would have been a cool movie, but it ain't.
Yeah, I feel like M. Night is just stuck in 1996.
Yeah, when The Sixth Sense came out, or it was 1999 or whatever. The other one was The Village, which is, like...
Yeah.
Did you watch The Village?
I did not. I have seen very few. I've seen Devil.
Is Devil good? That's the elevator one?
Yes, it is sufferable. I remember when I watched it when I was 13, I thought it was cool. So that gives you a pretty good idea of how good it was.
The Village is like this Amish village with like weird people that dress in monster outfits and kill or something.
Cool.
Apparently there's a woman that's like blind so that she isn't affected by the monsters. I'm really extrapolating here. I don't know how much of this I remember. But like the plot twist is that there is actually no secret Amish village. It's just like a bunch of people that live in a forest in modern day, and it's like not actually the old times. They just don't like technology.
Spoiler alert, Olivia. Come on.
I will end you. I will end you where you stand. But my point is, none of his movies are good, and unless you have a phenomenal self-driven actor, it's bad.
It's gonna be bad.
So...
Yeah, wow. I love how this just turned into an M. Night Shyamalan roast.
I hate him. He's bad. He is a bad writer, he is a bad director, and he is insufferable and is unwilling to admit his own mistakes.
I think that's the thing. Like, he reminds me so much of, like, Darren Aronofsky.
Who is that?
That's the guy who made Mother and also Black Swan. Right?
Okay.
Like, in his own pretentiousness, he has become tantamount to a white man. Like, God, that's probably not okay to say. But, like, I don't know, man. It takes a certain kind of person to look the world, the whole fucking world at large, straight in the eye and say, no, my movies aren't bad. You just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Like, there was one of the movies, like, is a sci-fi movie that has, like, Will Smith in it, which is also fucking insufferable. And M. Night Shyamalan did an interview where he was like, we actually, went out of our way to write, it's called After Earth.
Yes.
They hired a linguist to like invent a language.
Give a man a pen and they think suddenly they're J.R.R. fucking Tolkien.
Yeah. So yes.
Wow.
Yes. So
cool.
he fucking wrote a language for this film, and I'm gonna tell you, it did not land. Yeah, it did not land at all. So,
well, great.
Excellent.
This movie is terrible, in case anybody missed that, but I do think everyone should see it.
Yeah.
It's so hard to describe, like, it is so bad in so many ways.
For anyone that's wondering, all of these horrible, horrible, horrible movies are all of the ones where he is the producer, and it seems like all of the not bad ones are when he was not a producer.
Go figure, huh?
Yeah, so...
Boy, oh boy. Oh, and my last thing. This movie ends with just the strangest moment. They really didn't hire anyone who could act through their way through this script, and that extended to the child that they've been dragging around this entire movie. I jumped because I was so startled by this one moment, the only moment where she speaks in the whole thing. She doesn't say a goddamn word for the entire thing, and I would have preferred it if she hadn't, because at the very end, she's like going to school for the first time since the event happened.
You know, the one that ended like 1 minute before they went outside conveniently.
Right.
Exactly, if I'm correct, at 9:32 a.m., which scientists know for some reason.
I guess so. It just stopped right then.
Yeah.
Which they prep you for. It's hilarious. Oh my god, I gotta stop. So, this child looks at the woman, the Zooey Deschanel woman, whose name is Alma.
Is it?
I know this because I wrote down this line. She looks her in the eye and says these words exactly as I'm about to say them. Yes, Aunt Alma, I love you. Demon! Creepy child alert, she is terrifying.
Jesus. Yeah.
She's been an angel up until this point, and she just, like, becomes robot for a moment. And it's the bookend of this whole movie, is this child reading off of a cue card behind Zooey Deschanel. What? Why?
Yes, Aunt Alma, I love you.
This?
Who wrote this? Who directed
Night
this?
fucking
Who
Shyamalan.
produced this?
But someone is... I can't imagine what was left on the cutting room floor. Can you even fathom the garbage that was cut?
Yeah. Oh, hey, funny enough, the guy that plays Joey's voice
Oh, yeah?
is M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, boy. Somebody thinks they're just Alfred Hitchcock, huh? Cool.
Anyway, I think that is really
does it.
the whole review. That's the whole ass movie.
That's it. It's
Matt.
like you watched it, huh?
Yeah, it's like I watched it. Oh, yeah, it is.
For listening to this hot steaming pile of garbage. I think this is maybe the most disjointed we've been in a movie review in a long time because there was so much.
It's okay, and in fairness, if you watch this film, we were as concise as we could be, because I do not exaggerate. It is all fucking over the place. It is non-linear as non-linear gets. It's a circle.
And not to say that the plot is non-linear. No.
It's all of it.
It's
all
just,
of it.
It just doesn't make any sense. The movie doesn't make any goddamn sense.
So
thanks, I guess, for suffering through this. Definitely watch the movie if you haven't. I recommend that you watch it beforehand, but if you're already here, then I guess it's too late.
Our next series is going to be on fad diets.
So excited.
And I know what I'm doing, and I'm very excited to record it, and I'm going to be full of visceral anger, and thankfully we are going to be recording after the hellscape of a week I'm about to have. So, I'm going to be presenting my research.
Oh, yes. That is, you need all of the good luck vibes, my friend.
So that's
You're going to do great.
Nothing
it's going to be
is
awesome.
working, and it's fine. We love you. We have social media at TTKMeUp on Instagram and Twitter, and we have a website, ttkmeup.com, that's linked to our Patreon and our merch store if you're interested in getting some fun merch. We have a Facebook, but who cares, as Brooke says. We love connecting with you on Twitter. We love hearing feedback. We love when people at us. It's very fun. On our Patreon, we will be doing an AMA after we hit $100 a month, which is very cool.
Yeah.
We're about a third of the way there. Oh, big thanks to the 4 people that downloaded every episode that we had in one day.
We had a day where we had like 260 downloads. I just gave away all like our whole thing, but yeah, that was a big deal for us.
And when you were like, what the fuck is happening? And then you looked at the IP addresses and you're like, oh, it's just 4 people. And I'm like, those are the best 4 people I know.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope you liked it.
I really hope you did. You downloaded all of them, so
here's fucking hoping.
Yeah. We love you all so much. Is there any other announcements?
No, and thanks for being patient. I know it's always a bummer when we have to postpone one, but I was moving because my apartment had asbestos in it. Hey! We will do an episode about leasing companies here pretty soon.
Once I'm out of my lease,
Oh, yeah.
and get my deposit back.
I don't think I can hold it in. It is that bad. I can't wait.
Oh, I hate my life. So, I guess on that note, it's been real.